mentioned the federal edict, and it has, a huge impact on not only the government, the DoD, so on and so forth, but their contractors and vendors that are associated in their ecosystem. But you also mentioned Y2K, and that in the filings there was mention of these things. Do you see some event or something pushing it on the enterprise side versus the government side, or you see the government side that momentum there cascading down into the enterprise side?
The answer is possibly. I think what we're seeing actually is two fundamentally different approaches to how you tackle zero trust emerging, and there's very much a federal methodology that people are starting to use, which is sort of the zero trust network architecture, as opposed to businesses which I suspect want much more of a zero trust architecture. In other words, not done at the network level, because ultimately businesses are all about collaboration. There is no such, we used to joke that, back in the 90s when we started all of this stuff, it was really easy, wasn't it? We all had, corporate computers and corporate computers only. We had limited internet connectivity, and you were, staff on payroll. And if you were staff on payroll, you got an account. And if you weren't, tough. And that was really easy. And the problem is, ever since the turn of the millennium, I suppose, we've changed. Businesses are about collaboration. Businesses are about joint ventures. Businesses are employing people in a plethora of different ways. Staff on payroll in some companies are becoming, the minority. There are companies out there, large global corporates, that have 2/3 of their identity and access management system, their users, who are not staff on payroll. They are contractors, they are joint venture staff, they are et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And that's before you get onto all of those outsourced services like security guards and caterers and all of those people. That just doesn't include those. So I think what you are seeing is corporations, businesses are adopting much more of how do we actually implement this fluid organizational structure, and is zero trust going to cut it for us in that respect?
Yeah, it seems like what you're describing here is this concept of enterprise as a service. So instead of owning, the knowledge base, the knowledge workers, you mentioned the contractors, the security guards, even down to the application levels. We see that with SaaS and PaaS and some of these other services. You're stitching together these services into this hub that the corporate aspect of it is very small, but they're as a service around them. I would be interested to see if someone would give us a framework down the road, because it sounds like this could be something 5, 10, 20 years down the road as we evolve into this hybrid workforce. These things start to happen more and more often. But I haven't seen anyone really write about this concept of enterprise as a service and it really hitting the mainstream.
Yeah, I think it's coming very fast. The other thing that's driving it is not only zero trust, is cloud. The amount of stuff that we are literally putting in cloud. And again, just it's outsourcing. I think we talked about it in the first podcast we did together. If you think about it, Jericho originally coined it as computing outside your perimeter, which, philosophically, from if you want to explain it to an executive who is non-IT, they glaze over when you say cloud to them. Explain it as, look, it's just computing outside your perimeter using someone else's compute resource.